Hey y'all, if you have a kiddo that needs a little bit of encouragement when it comes to independent reading, stick around for today's video because I am giving you my 3 top tips to encourage them and give a little bit of excitement when it comes to independent reading. If you guys have been around for a little while, you know that we are trying to build our reading muscle, as I have referred to it before, but that just means I'm trying to make reading a bigger priority in our homeschool. That means independent reading and also read alouds. Today, we are focusing on just independent reading, and I'm going to give you my 3 top ways I have found that have really helped and encouraged my daughter in her independent reading. The first tip is really the simplest, but also can be the hardest to implement for some families, and that is to model reading time. I know that sounds easier said than done. Trust me, I love to read, but I do find it difficult to just find quiet time to sit and read. But I promise, even if it is only 10 or 15 minutes, that can make a really big impact. Now, that does not mean that your child is going to see you reading and automatically go grab a book and sit down next to you and read independently as well, but it does model the habit and the behavior. And the idea is that over time, they will start to implement those things as well, and it will kind of model what they have seen you doing. You can also encourage a quiet time. So you can encourage a 20, 30, 45 minutes, an hour of just quiet time in your house. And that could be the time that mom is also having quiet time. So you are sitting and reading for a portion of that time. And that kind of shows your children this is the time that you can use doing that independent reading. My second tip is to choose a series, but only read book 1 in the series as a read aloud. Now, this will create the excitement, and your kids may want to know what happens in the rest of the series. But you can't read books 2 and 3 because you have other books that you have allotted as read alouds that you need to move on to. But what they can do is read book 2, 3, 4, etc. in the series as independent readers. Or if that doesn't quite get them, maybe they can read the book together as read aloud. So they take turns reading chapters or a certain number of pages together, but separate from mom. And so that gives them the feeling of read aloud because they're listening to their siblings read, but it gives each child the opportunity to read independently. So you're getting a little bit of the best of both worlds doing it that way. And the last tip that I have for you is to create excitement around choosing new books. Now, for us, I created the Reading Feast. And basically, this is a guide and a few fun printables for you and your children. You set out all of the books that you have assigned for each child, and you can choose to do some snacks and fun drinks, whatever that looks like for you and your family. You set all of that up in a particular area. I actually did this as a surprise, so I told my daughter to go in her room, play quietly. She could not come out until I was finished, and I set up an entire area for her. I got a fun tablecloth and some fun little things. I just ran to the dollar store, so it didn't cost a lot of money, but it really set up the excitement and it was fun. I had all of the books out on the table for her, and we just worked through this very simple printable. At first, you do what I call is the book tasting. And very simply, that is what you're doing. You're getting just a very small idea of what the book is about. You're looking at the cover. You are looking at how many pages that book is. You're kind of writing down some of your first impressions. And you're going to do this for every book that you have assigned as independent readers. You can choose to narrow it down to a smaller time frame. so as not to overwhelm them. Instead of going through all of the books for the entire year, maybe you just do this once a semester, or maybe just for the first half of the year. Because if you do the entire year, that may be really overwhelming, and it may be a lot of work, especially for some of your younger children that are just kind of dabbling into independent reading. If they see a lot of books on the table, that may kind of deter them. So making sure that you put those into smaller chunks for them may really help create the excitement, and they don't get overwhelmed with the amount of writing and reading and things that they have to do just to make their menu, which is the next step. Once they have tasted all of their books, they go through and they create a menu. And basically, they're just going to put the books in order that they want to read them. Now that they have tasted each one of those books, they may be more excited for a certain book than others. And so they write those out, and that's going to decide their order. I also included a desserts page, and this is where you can write down just some of the fun things that they can earn based off of how many books they've read, how many hours they've read, whatever that looks like for you and your family, whatever goals you're trying to accomplish. This desserts page is supposed to be just a fun way that you can jot down some fun things that they can earn. For example, you can have, once they have read 5 books, they get to choose their own dinner for a night. They can choose their own dessert. Maybe there is a new book that they really, really want, but they don't get to earn that book until they've read all of the books that you have on the list for them at first. So there's a variety of things that you can do, but that's what the desserts page is for. Then once all of that is completed, you want to move into the rate and review. And this is basically just like a book report. I did include 3 different levels based on your child's needs and their ages. So level 1 is going to be much simpler, really only requires circling a couple of things and maybe a couple of sentences. Then level 2 kind of moves up a bit. There are a couple of circle things, and then a couple of questions that will need just 1 or 2 sentences, but there are a couple of questions that would be better to use 3 or 4 sentences for. And then of course we have level 3, and in level 3 you have more questions than in the previous 2 levels, but also those require more detailed answers as well. Now, while you don't have to use this Reading Feast printable, I would encourage you just check it out because it has been proven to be very fun and very exciting. My daughter and I loved it when we used it, and it's just a really great way to kind of create some fun and excitement, a little bit of buzz as you start to look at your books for the school year. If you are still in the planning phase of your homeschool, check out this video here where I go through how I make our schedule step by step. That's it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will talk to you soon.